some good food, probably watched a episode of a series you're watching. I've heard a lot of students are watching, I don't know, like you, I hear. So I don't know what you guys are watching. Hopefully you're having a good day, but we hope we could entertain you with some good information for the next hour or so. Hello everyone, my name is Lupe and I am the program coordinator for CARS. We are the College Access Readiness and Success program. This is our third presentation. I'm not sure if any of you attended the last two. If so, welcome back. If you're new, thank you so much for joining us. And I'll go ahead and let Mr. Gill introduce himself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Oscar Gill. I've been in the last two presentations as well. My pronouns are he, his, him. I'm the current acting academic pathways coordinator, acting more of a consultant role right now. And yeah, hopefully all of you are having a good evening and enjoy the presentation. Ms. Denise?
Hi everyone, my name is Miss Denise and I am new to CARS, but I have been here for the past two presentations. I am the college literacy advisor for CARS, and hopefully you all learn a little bit something about the CSUs tonight.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, the first workshop that we did was to review the UC application. The last workshop was on financial aid, and this one will be a brief review on the CSU application. Okay, so we will be covering what is a CSU, which are the CSU campuses, what exactly should you be looking for when you're selecting your CSU campuses, and what the CSU application actually looks like and consists of. Okay, so if you have any questions, always feel free to stop us, turn on your mic, or if you want to type something in the chat box, Mr. Gill and Miss Denise will be taking a look, okay? And if your parent is joining you by any chance and they speak Spanish, let us know. We speak Spanish as well. So what is a CSU? It stands for California State University. So that means you will not find a CSU in Texas or any other state. So C, California. It is the largest public four-year university system in the US. There are 23 CSU campuses, so this is why it's the largest public four-year university system. CSUs are recognized for being more hands-on and helping students develop professional and practical skills. In comparison to the UC system, if you guys remember, the UC system focuses more on research and academic publishing. So many times the professors that you have are currently doing research or working on publications. But none the least, both CSUs and UCs are highly regarded public university systems. If you are attending a CSU, that is awesome. If you are attending a UC, that is awesome. If you go to a private, awesome as well. The point is that you are pursuing your post-secondary education, and that in all deserves you all get a gold star and brownie points or whatever point system you guys like. Okay, so another key difference that I like to point out is the tuition difference. So a UC in-state tuition is around $14,000 and an in-state tuition for a CSU is around $7,000. So I don't want you guys to get scared by the money. Once again, UCs and CSUs adjust for these prices with financial aid. So if you guys have any questions about that, let us know. We did review it a bit in the last presentations, but just a few pointers to differentiate the CSUs from the UCs. Okay. So to start off, what is required to actually apply to a CSU campus? This might look familiar. We have covered it in the last two. That includes your A through G courses. So that includes history, English, math, laboratory sciences, language, visual and performing arts, and a college preparatory elective. So depending on where you are right now, if you're in the 9th, 10th, and 11th, or 12th grade, you could go ahead and take a look at this chart and see, do I have 4 years, 2 years, 3 years in each one of these respective subjects? Next thing, for a Cal State, they require a GPA between a 2.0 and a 2.5 in your A through G courses. And your high school grade point average is calculated using all of the classes that we saw right here. Okay. Anything you want to add, Mr. Gill, Miss Denise?
I'm not 100% sure. It kind of cut off a bit on my side. But just to reiterate, so it used to previously be a 2.0 a GPA minimum. Once we got rid of the SAT and the ACT, it became a 2.5 GPA minimum. However, you are still eligible to apply with the 2.0 to 2.499, but they're going to look at other factors such as you're first in your family to attend college. It's going to depend on how many ATD courses you have taken. If you've done dual enrollment courses, they're going to look at other outside factors now that they got rid of the testing system. But just because your GPA may not be at that 2.5 minimum and you're like that 2.0 to 2.499, you are still eligible for a CSU. In addition, I think we're going to talk about a little later with the EOP program. Some EOP programs in certain schools that we'll talk about a little later have the leeway to override some of these GPA requirements. So let's say you're a 1.98, 1.99, you can still get accepted to a CSU through an EOP program.
Yes, and just to add on to what Mr. Gill said, there have been those changes, but as he said, if you're in that like 2.0 to 2.4 range, the only way you will know that you're not going to get into the campus is if you don't apply. You are not part of the admissions board, so I say you go ahead and fill out your application and let the admission board at whatever campus it is that you're applying make that decision. Okay. So where are these CSUs located? Are they in Northern California, Central California, or Southern California? So just so you guys take a quick look at the 23 different campuses, we have a very big variety compared to the UC system where you could only select from 9 campuses. So for those of you who are seniors, 9th graders, it's a good time to start researching each one of these campuses. Is it in an area that you like? Is it too far from home, too close to home? I personally did not apply to any college that was close to home because I wanted to say goodbye for a few years. Maybe that's not something you want. Maybe you want to stay home because you have some siblings and they're very cute and you want to help them out. This is a great time for you all to start exploring and taking a look at all of these campuses. So as you guys could see, the school that is furthest north is Humboldt, and then the school that's furthest south is San Diego, and then we have all of these great schools in between. Assuming you are all around where I saw the campus, the closest Cal State for all of us would probably be Cal State LA, Cal State Dominguez Hills, Cal State Long Beach, Fullerton, and Northridge is still a little long way, but those are the closest Cal States around us. But we still highly encourage you all to look into the campuses up north and then some of the ones that we have in Southern California. So what should I be looking for when I am selecting a CSU campus? So I want to start off by some of the common mistakes that happen when you are selecting your CSU campuses. Just as a friendly reminder, the same way that you have 4 fee waivers for your UC applications, you also get 4 fee waivers for the Cal State application. So you would get to apply to 4 campuses for free. You don't have to pay that it's between $70 or $80 for each application you submit. Mr. Gill, it looks like you turned on your mic.
70.
70, okay, there you go.
And just one small note in regards to the CSU. The UCs, depending on your school, if you qualify for like a college board SAT fee waiver, or are at a free or reduced lunch school, you traditionally will get the 4 fee waivers. For the CSUs, it's either a yes or no, but depending on your household income and your household size. So unfortunately, there's no way to, if you are making over the amount that's thresholded for your family size and income, then you may not be eligible for a fee waiver. And unfortunately, there's no workaround for the CSUs.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. So some of the common mistakes that happen when students are selecting some of their CSU campuses, picking a school for its name or reputation. This is a lot more common amongst the UCs, but I see it happen with the Cal States as well. A common one is San Diego State. It's very known for, I think it's sports, so don't make that mistake. Choosing a school because your friends are going there. Do not do this. You all have different interests. You all probably have different majors. think about it this way. If you all go to different campuses, you all get to visit each other during spring break, winter break, whatever it is, and see other campuses. Mr. Gill? Sorry, I saw you get close to the camera and it looked like you wanted to add something.
I just put on the chat box, friends or like a partner in a relationship, don't limit yourself to where they're going, have some self-exploration. You're both going to end up regretting it if you go to a school that you don't want to go to or they don't want to go to because of you or their choice.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, if you guys are friends, if you go to different schools, it doesn't matter. So next up, ignoring the money factor. Everything is supposed to be taken into account. You're not only looking at the money or only looking at the school if it has a major. You want to take a look at everything to make your final decision. And looking at the money is a very important one. If you're not seeing which school is offering you the most financial aid, it would not be very wise if you select the campus that is requiring you to take out the most amount of loans or is offering you the least amount of help. So make sure you're not ignoring the money factor. Next, choosing a school because it's where someone else wants you to go. By someone else, it typically means maybe parents or siblings. Once again, you are the one who will be going to school there for 4 years. So you want to make sure you are placing yourself in the environment that you think is going to suit you best for the next 4 years, maybe 3 to 5 years for some students. Next, picking the schools because you like the colors or mascot. This goes back to, it really has to do with like sports. And lastly, only going to the school with the best party scene. Believe it or not, a lot of students think about this when they're selecting campuses. Don't be fooled by that. Remember, the ultimate goal of you going to college is to further your education. There will always be fun wherever it is that you go. Anything else you all would like to add? Thank you. So the following are some other factors I highly encourage you all to consider when you're doing your research and selecting your campuses. Taking a look at the data, the achievements you need to look into to actually apply to the campus, expenses, size, diversity, major availability, and involvement. So we'll dig a little deeper into each one of these right now. So what do I mean by data? So something we always push our students to take a look at is the retention rate and the graduation rate. So the retention rate measures the percentage of a school's first year students who return their second year. So the retention rate shows all of those students who began their freshman year return for their second year, their sophomore year. We use this as a measurement to see if the student returned their second year, it's most likely that they're going to return their third and their fourth year. They've acclimated to what the campus offers. They found resources. They know how to reach out to their professors. So the retention rate is a good measurement to take a look at. And the next one is a graduation rate. So the graduation rate measures how many students leave with their degree within 4 to 6 years. So same thing as a retention rate, you want to see how many students are actually accomplishing their goal of receiving their bachelor's within that 4-year time period. Ideally, you only want to be there those 4 years so you get the most amount of financial aid. Remember, the longer you're there, the least financial aid you receive. Anything you guys want to add? The following is knowing if the major or campus you're looking to is impacted. So what does it mean if it is impacted? When the number of applications received by the CSU campus from qualified applicants is greater than the number of available spaces a campus or major offers. So if there are too many applicants and few seats, that makes the major or the campus impacted. If you recall, for the UC application, they ask you all to select an alternate major, and it is for this case, if the first major that you selected was impacted, seats are taken, but you are a very good candidate, they will offer you admissions for that second major you have listed on your application.
Something I would add to this is that sometimes the schools CSUs can be stigmatized in terms of like, oh, Long Beach, like it's so hard to get in because it's like popular and like demanding. But the only thing about Long Beach is the number of applicants. So every school has a certain number of seats and they're around like the same amount. However, it's the number of applicants. So of course, if a school is, for example, Fresno State, I believe their acceptance rate is like around 80%. It's very likely you'll get in because not a lot of applicants are being, or applications are being submitted. So it's not necessarily that a school is better than another. It's just that a lot of students are applying to, like a whole bunch of students are applying to one school alone. So don't feel like one CSU is better than another. It's just the amount of applications.
So this is some information that I actually pulled from the CalState application, and it's listing some of the campuses that are currently listed as impacted, meaning that they are receiving a very high number of applicants each academic school year. So we have Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, Fresno State, which seems to be very surprising to a lot of students, but Fresno State is one of the closest CSUs for all of those students who are in Central California. So I don't know all of these small towns in Central California. If you guys do, go ahead and drop them in the chat box and I'll learn something new. The only one I could think of is Visalia. I don't know what else there is there. Then we have Fullerton, we have Cal State LA, Long Beach, San Diego State, and San Jose State. So according to the Cal State application, these are the campuses that are most impacted currently. And then I will be putting this handy dandy spreadsheet or grid in the chat box for you all to have for your personal reference. So this grid is pretty neat. It lists all of the campuses and then all of the majors. So you could go ahead and check which major is impacted in each campus. So this could help you with your research, knowing for what schools you need to be a more competitive candidate, for which campus the major that you're interested isn't as impacted. And if it isn't impacted, does that mean something? Does that mean that their program is better? Are they offering something that students are looking more into and that's why they're receiving so many applications? So this is a great resource for you all to use. Once again, I'll be putting this in the chat box, but you could also find it in the Cal State website.
This is also great for picking the schools that you want to apply to, your safety school, your target school, and your super reach school. So this is very important for, of course, the impacted and not impacted majors. So maybe one school is not impacted and another school isn't, or one school is and one school isn't. Maybe that can be your safety school and maybe that can be your target school. So just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. Are there any questions in the chat box, Mr. Gill? Are there any questions, comments, concerns so far? No? Okay. So I just wanted to give you guys an example for Cal State Long Beach. We see it up here. And if you go all the way down, you see it is impacted for all of the majors it offers at the campus. So I will leave it in the chat box once again, and then you have the legend at the bottom so you know exactly what the I means, the O, the N, so you guys could do some exploring with this. So what else should I consider? So what achievements, what do I need to do to get there? So if I already saw how competitive the campus is, if it's impacted, if my major's impacted, are there certain SAT, ACT scores I should be looking for? We all know you will need to complete the FAFSA application. Are there extracurricular activities I should be looking into? We know you need to meet the A through G requirements. Letters of recommendation will go, we'll go more into later, which will be used for the EOP application, but we'll see that later on our presentation. So looking into what do I need to do to prepare for when it's my senior year and I want to apply to these campuses. You're not going to wait until your senior year. If you're a 9th grader, you're going to start 9th grade, 10th, and 11th grade. Alrighty. So next thing we should consider, which is Miss Denise, sorry.
No, no worries.
Mhm.
Do you want to?
Okay, so next thing we want to consider is the expenses. So, am I going to choose a campus that is further from me? Am I going to choose a campus that's closer to me? If it's closer to me, I could commute, so I'm going to save some money there. If I'm going to live further from home, I'm will need to pay for room and board living on campus. I need to pay for my meal plan. So these are all small details you all should consider when you're doing your research. Miss Denise, I'll let you go ahead and take the next slide.
Sounds good. So things to consider as well is the school size. So it can be small, which is very great if you're considering a small class size, as well as you see familiar faces. So maybe you'll really connect with students who are in your classes because small class sizes, as well as limited academic offerings. So small school means small programs and classes and majors offered. However, another thing about small campuses is that there are fewer clubs and activities. So maybe sports might not be a big thing. So if that is something that you are considering, maybe a larger school campus might be the option for you. So in consideration for large schools, you're always meeting someone new, which is nice. Maybe classes are a bit larger and auditorium classes are much larger. I know one of the biggest classes at the college I went to was like 900 seats in a class. So that is really huge. So that is something to consider when you're thinking about like the education that you want to obtain. So if you're really into small classes, take that into consideration, and then large classes, take that into consideration as well. Another thing is 100 clubs and activities. So again, organizations on campus there's always gonna be something for someone, and as well as activities. So if you're a big sports fan, maybe a larger campus might have much more sports options. Thank you. So another thing to consider is diversity. So diversity at colleges involves ethnicity, gender, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, socioeconomic status. I am really like excited to say that California is like probably one of the most diverse states in the United States. And one thing I really push students to do is I push higher education to many diverse schools, because once you get onto campus, you might get that shock of like, oh wow, like I'm at a university, and predominantly universities were predominantly white. So just bringing in your own identity, whether that's gender, of course, everything listed, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, you're bringing value to a room in education. So a lot of classes, you'll have a discussion section, and this is where you bring value, you bring your own stories and your own identity in the classroom, which is really amazing because you get to learn from others as well. So diversity is really cool to consider when applying to CSUs.
Yes. So something I'd like to share is I loved meeting new people and from different cultures. I got to try some of their food and I got to share some of my food with them. So that's something you all could do. Maybe you all speak a second language. That's something you could contribute. So I think diversity is a very good point to emphasize. Thank you, Miss Denise.
So major availability. So know what majors are offered before you commit. So sometimes I find students that are like, I want to go to Long Beach. I want to go to Long Beach. And it's like, however, most of the interests that they've applied to, like others, are not even offered at the school they really, really want to go to. So some of these things include biology, nursing, psychology, English, business, engineering, sociology, ethnicity. So again, just make sure that before you commit to a school that you are also being accepted with the major that you are really passionate about. Because sometimes I also see students that don't get accepted to the first primary major that they really wanted, but they get accepted for their second. However, another school, they got accepted for their primary one. So it's like, there's always this conflict. So please consider this when you're choosing to commit to a school as well. Anything you want to add, everyone? Cool. So involvement. This is a great one. So we are all going to be going to college to get an education. However, it's really nice to have that social aspect as well. Because one thing that I want to emphasize is like work hard, play harder. So that means if you're working hard, and keep that balance as well. Like if you're working hard, you can get overwhelmed and burnt out. So make sure to blend in some social interaction with other people and human beings. And by doing that, you can get out there by organizations, internships, volunteer opportunities. There's always going to be a variety of things on every campus. One of the things that I remember at my university was volunteering at the aquarium. We had a campus aquarium. So if you're not really going out much or getting much sun, like that can be a volunteer opportunity. So definitely take advantage of the other things that campuses have to offer that are not just educational, they're just social as well.
Yes. I wanted to add on, just as a friendly reminder, you are going to make friends, you're going to make great groups of friends, but you all might not have the same interests. Don't feel like you need to follow along. And if you want to do Greek life with them, if you want to be part of the anime club, like this is your opportunity to branch out. You could be part of the hiking club, you could be part of academic clubs, depending on what your interests are. There's like pre-med, there's pre-law. There are lots and lots and lots of clubs and organizations you all could do some exploring with. So this is your time and opportunity. Don't be scared. Just get yourself out there and you won't regret it because you will meet even greater people while you're doing your exploring. And who knows, this might help you do some networking, find some people to study with. This networking might help you find internships or potential jobs. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
And on the off chance there are other organizations that you're interested in or volunteer opportunities, create your own. In college, the good thing about that is a lot of these organizations and clubs get funding from the institution. So if you see that none of these organizations are for your specific interest, create your own club. There's 9 out of 10 times it will get funded and you're able to do something that you enjoy and making sure there's enough money, not for us payment, but enough money to keep that club alive.
Very good points. Very good points. So the next thing we will review is the CSU application sections. Don't be afraid. We'll go through each section. Applications can be overwhelming, but don't worry. The CSU application process is quite simple in 4 different sections.
Yes. So the CSU application requires less work compared to the UC application, but don't let that fool you. You still need to spend some time, sit down, and get all your information onto the CSU application as well.
So CSU application consists of 4 sections, which is personal information, academic history, supporting information, and program material. We will go through each section, but one thing that I do want to highlight about the CSU application that yes, just like Ms. Lopez said, it is less work than the UC application. However, most of the CSU application is your, how can I say this? The admission office is looking specifically at things that you have inputted into the CSU application. So it's very important for the academic history, we'll get to it, that you are inputting everything correctly, because essentially they're kind of taking your word for it that before they get your transcript, your official transcript, they're just looking at what you've put down. So we got to make sure that we don't miss anything. All right, so personal information, again, this information is for data for the CSUs to retrieve data, as well as making sure that where you live, and also this is where they will also take in consideration, I will explain in a little bit, your financial need just for time purposes. There's this program called EOP, which is the Education Opportunity Program, and not everybody qualifies. Financially eligible students are. So this is where you will be putting personal information again, like citizenship, residency information, race and ethnicity, parent guardian information, and financial and parent information. Again, this is not going to be because I know for many students, like citizenship might not be something they're comfortable with sharing. Don't worry, this is not going to be released and no one's going to, investigate any further. They just want to make sure that they're getting your information down. So personal information, again, citizenship, as well as residency. So again, these are only used for data purposes, just to see who is applying. And then also to know if you've been in California, so that they know whether to charge in-state tuition or out-of-state tuition. Because again, California is great and they really want to make sure that they are considering their California residencies when looking at applications. Anything you all want to add to that? Cool. All right, so then it's the personal, look for the green circle signaling completion of all sections. Again, so you see those little check marks right there next to the release statement, biographical information, contact information. We want to see those check marks. So at the top, you see that there's like a green circle. It says 8 out of 8. Personal information section is completed. We hope to see 4, is it 4 or 3? 4 circles. Oh, we just said it. 4 circles that will be completely green before submitting your application. So, okay, now we're going to academic history. This is where we do not want to mess up. The admissions office is essentially looking at everything you are inputting. They're taking your word for it. So this is where you will be putting the high schools you attended. So if you're a transfer student and you have transcripts from other schools, or maybe you took a summer school at a different school site, that is something that we will be putting in this section. Academic information, that is where you will be inputting all your grades, all your courses from 9th grade all the way until 12th grade. I understand that 12th grade is kind of hard to input grades because you are currently taking them. Don't worry, they just want to know what classes you are going to take in case some of those courses are A through G. So maybe they're looking at your application and they're like, oh, we see that 9th through 11th grade, this person has taken these A through Gs. However, we're missing a couple. So this is why we put the 12th grade, so that schools can know which classes you're in progress and also in plan to take for the rest of your 12th grade year. Sorry, can you go back just a second? I just want to skim through the rest. Other than that, colleges attended. So if you're taking dual enrollment courses at your local community college, that's where you'll input their information there. High school coursework, again, that's where you're doing all the right things and putting the A pluses and A minuses. This is where it matters. The UC application, you're just putting a letter grade. However, the CSU application, you have to put those A pluses, A minuses, B minuses, B pluses. It really matters for the CSU application. Again, college coursework, if you took APs, standardized tests, if you took them, don't worry, this year they're not, again, emphasizing them, but if you've taken them or are planning to take it, you will be putting that in that section. And then A through G matching, at the end, it just calculates what A through Gs you have done.
And then just a quick little editing. For college coursework, you will not be putting any of your AP courses. That's specifically community college, CSU, UC courses that you've taken and gotten credit for. A through F or a W, you'll be putting it there. Okay. Standardized test is where you'll be putting your AP scores. Doesn't matter whether you got a 1, you got a 5, you're still putting it down.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I flipped that one. So academic history. So here you will make sure that you are putting your high school. So you can look up your high school by either putting the city, the zip code, or if you know your school code. Either way, if you put the city, they'll give you a whole list of schools in the city. And you will then click the site that you are at. Right here, it's very important under the high school example, it says dates attended. Make sure you are putting the year you started, which is freshman year, the month that you started, and the year that you started freshman year, and then the end, which is your expected graduation month and date. So this is very important because then it doesn't give you, it'll kind of mess up your course load. So just make sure that you're putting the correct month, year, and expected graduation month and year.
And if you went to multiple high schools, you'll be putting multiple high schools here. So let's say I went to the site that the car is located at, Lusinger. from August 2018 to June 2020. And then I went to orthopedic from August 2020 to June 2022. I would make sure to list it in that order. If you went to 4 different high schools, if you went to a summer school, you would put in those dates attended there as well. If you went to a different high school.
And just to add on, if you have no clue what courses you should be including in this section, you could get all of this information from your wonderful counselor at your campus. And if you don't know who your counselor is, once again, try to figure that out. They are very, very good resources for you.
Yes. All right, so academic history is your high school, coursework. Input all the A through G courses, grades from 9th to 12th grade. Again, every transcript is different. So I think one thing that I didn't mention was that you will need a transcript of all your coursework. And you can retrieve this from your school counselor. And if you don't know, again, please get to know your counselors. It's always nice to get a transcript at the end of every year. So if you're in 9th grade, make sure you get that just to see what A through G is done. Right here on the right, you see the A through G subject totals. Again, A through G is just a lettering system that they use for each course. So right here is history, 2 years, you need 2 years of history, 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 1 year of a biological science and a physical science, so 1 each for area D. So that's why you see a D1 and D2, because 1 has to be biological and 1 has to be physical. Language other than English for 2 years, visual performing arts for 1, and a college prep course. Again, make sure that you are getting familiar with what a transcript looks like, because not all your courses that you may be taking in high school are A through G. So make sure you can figure out which ones are A through G, because some students too, let's just say, for example, the F, whereas the visual and performing arts, not all arts or media or any performing arts classes taken at your high school or available at your high school may not be A through G eligible. So make sure the courses that you are taking are A through G eligible. And if you don't know, it's a really good time to get to know your school counselor to break that down with you. So make sure that you're also separating, when you're putting in your coursework, make sure you're separating it by academic year. You don't want to put all your A through Gs on 1 year, because that's probably academically impossible to do in 1 year. So just make sure you're putting the years down. So no 10th grade class in 9th grade. I'm not sure what you meant by that, Miss Lupe, do you mind?
Oh, so for this one, it's like you don't want to put your sophomore level classes in your 9th grade, like you were saying, your 9th grade level year. You don't want to put junior class that you took your junior year on your sophomore year, academic year, and so on and so forth.
Perfect. And then again, summer session should be in their own section as well. Sorry, Miss Lupe, go for it.
No, it's okay. So once you get this transcript printout, it's going to organize it for you. So just make sure you have that transcript printout. You're sitting down calmly and you're looking through it, and you will be a-okay. And if you are doubting yourself, I always suggest before you submit anything, I'm sure there's someone on your campus who will review your application for you. Okay?
It's always nice to get two eyes on there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Mr. Gill?
Sorry. And then 2 small things. One, as Ms. Denise was saying, not every single one of your courses might be A through G eligible. A class that you took freshman year might have not been A through G eligible, and then when it became your sophomore year, it might have become A through G eligible. That still means that the class you took 9th grade is not A through G eligible, so you wouldn't put it down there. In addition, when you're putting all these courses down, sometimes, I mean, you're doing stuff with the computer will auto-populate this information. It won't always 100% populate correctly. It might populate your English 11 class as a math class, right? This is where the A through G matching tool comes in handy. So you would physically go on your actual English class and then go where it says C for math, for example. You would erase that and put the B for English to correct it. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Good stuff.
I was going to ask if they have CCGI. We're not sure. It's okay.
And then, sorry, one more thing, sorry. And then worst comes to worst, if you don't know what classes are A through G, I know not all transcripts, like the current school, Ms. Denise and Ms. Lupe are working at, They literally tell you it's a UC eligible class or an A2G eligible class. The school where I'm a counselor at, they don't. You can always Google UC A through G articulation agreement, and then put in your school's information, and it will tell you what classes fall under the A requirement, B requirement, so on and so forth per academic school year. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just basically repeat that information to your counselor, and they should know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No worries. Don't be scared. It's okay. There will be a system to tell you that that course is either A through G eligible or not A through G eligible. So don't worry. There's a system out there. So program materials. This is another section of the CSU application. This is where you're going to be putting all schools you will be applying to. So this is also the tedious part of the application, because this is where you'll be choosing the school and the program or the major you are applying to. So it varies per school and major. Some schools may ask you for one specific major. However, if it is impacted, they may be asking for a second one. Not all CSUs have that, but just keep that in mind that some schools may ask for 2 majors. So it varies per school and major. For example, CSU Long Beach will differ from CSU LA, and as well as CSU Long Beach Political Science will differ from CSU Long Beach's engineering. Again, the impaction, make sure you are looking at the impacted majors list.
Yes, and to add on to that, in each one of these sections, there might be additional information that you need to provide for the major you're interested in. So a common major that will require additional information, maybe short responses, is for those of you who are interested in nursing. That's a very common one that will have supplementary questions that you need to reply to. They might be similar to the ones that you already wrote for your UC application, but once again, it varies by each campus, it varies by each major in the campus. So once you see that little check mark, you'll know that you have completed all of their program material required. Okay.
Yeah, so for this one, again, more specifically, like Mr. was saying, what is meant here is this section specifically does not ask you to confirm that school. You might be asked very random questions. I know Northridge, for example, will ask you if you are willing to get tested or willing to prove vaccination status for COVID, for example. And that's for like every major, but you want to add like engineering, you might be asked to present yourself with supplemental responses. So that's what I meant by Long Beach will differ from LA, because sometimes it's like you automatically get that check mark, or sometimes you have to answer a very random question. Let's say you're trying to go into political science, they might ask you a question like, hey, are you planning to be a doctor? And you say yes or no, and then you keep moving on.
All right. So now we are at step number 4, which is supporting information. And this is where I was telling you that it's important to kind of put your personal information, because the educational programs and work experience is another section, as well as the Education Opportunity Program, which is a program that I would recommend every single one of you applying to, because the Education Opportunity Program was developed to help students, especially first-generation students and students who are financial eligible. Many of these programs included in the EOP program include like tutoring, include extra sections in case you are taking like a statistics or a math class that may be hard. They offer support with courses. Support with sections and tutoring sessions, writing programs. And if you're not a great writer, I was not a great writer, I would go to the EOP office and I would kind of have a writing tutor look over my essays before I submitted. This is a really great opportunity for you all that I hope you all apply to. Anything you want to add to that?
So another of the perks that I know from EOP, I think if you get into EOP for some programs that qualifies you for like the early start program at the respective campuses. So that just means before the actual spring quarter or semester, fall quarter or semester begins, you get to visit the campus a few weeks before, just so you see what the campus looks like, what do the rooms look like. They also provide spaces for you all to come and hang out and like do your homework and meet people there. I know they provide resources for you to rent textbooks. Textbooks for some classes tend to be expensive. And most importantly, they give free food. Free food is always cool.
And then to add a little bit more into that, what I yes, the free food is very, very important, especially when you're in college. You have no idea. Um, but one thing that I do recommend from EOP or its equivalent program, because not every single school will have it called EOP, um, is their counselors. So think about it this way. Assuming there's 16,000 students in a school, right? There might be like 5 counselors. So you have the chances of you seeing a counselor is almost impossible. When you are in an EOP program or an EOP related program, there might be 300 students, 400 students per 5 EOP counselors. So you have a higher chance of seeing that counselor. And when it comes to college, and I'm sure Ms. Denise and Ms. Lupe can like attest, it's all paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be signed when it's getting a major, adding a minor, graduating, a lot of paperwork has to be signed. And trust me, the easier and the faster you see one of those counselors, the better it is for you long term.
Good stuff. So more on the supporting information section. This is where you'll be doing the educational programs participation. This is like questions like, have you participated in any of these programs in high school? Some of them being AVID, Upward Bound, Talent Search, or EOC, which is Educational Opportunity Center, Puente, Independent Living Project, MESA Project, et cetera, et cetera. This is where it's really good to put under here and put that supporting information in. So supporting information, educational programs and work experience. So EOP, they ask biographical questions. So these are example of questions. So one is briefly describe your family's economic background, include information about your financial challenges. Again, this is a really great section because you're also telling the CSUs a little bit more about you and your situations. Of course, there's no PIQs, there's no personal insight questions. However, this is also a portion to help you with those EOP programs, which is great. Yeah, I don't know if we should go through all of them.
No, it's not necessary, but for all of these, you're not writing an essay. It's literally something very brief. I'd say a paragraph at the most for all of them. If you want to go into detail, feel free. I know I was just recently talking to a Northridge rep, and for them especially, they do want to know as much information as possible, but don't feel the need that you have to write 20 pages per response. Like especially for number 4, if it's asking you to list stuff, just list stuff. You don't have to write a whole essay of where you volunteered. You can just tell them specifically where you volunteered, what you did, and move on to the next question.
And they will give you a little word limit or a range that you should stick to. So you'll see this once. If you're a senior, you'll probably see it on your application soon. Hopefully you started. If you haven't, your 9th, 10th, and 11th, you will expect it very, very soon.
Also, just saying, if you have any work experience, extracurricular activities, or volunteer work, this is a great portion to put that in there as well.
Yes. And if you have already worked on your UC application, we went over the awards and activities. All you have to do is list them, and ta-da!
So EOP recommendations, this is where you will be putting 2 letters of recommendation, preferably from a close teacher, community member. It can be maybe if you have work experience, you can definitely get like a manager or a supervisor to write you a letter of recommendation. And then here it says permission to contact the recommender, and then permission for schools to contact the recommender as well.
So 2 things.
Yeah.
So you do require 2 quote unquote letters of recommendation. One of them has to be from a teacher or a counselor. The other one can be a teacher, counselor, as he said, a supervisor, a manager. If you're a religious individual, a religious leader, if you are active in the community, an active community member, it just can't be family or it can't be friends. And the reason why I said quote unquote letters of recommendation, this isn't when this gets sent to that person, they don't have to write you a traditional letter of recommendation where they write 5-6 paragraphs, sign off, and good to go. It's more inquiring about your potential as a college student, if you've had any kind of hardships and how you overcame them, and your integrity as a person. they also have a word limit. I think it's about like 200 words per response. So 2,500 characters per response. So it's not really like a traditional letter. They will ask you like, oh, how well are you in math? How well are you in English? Are you a good person? In essence, they just want to know your character.
And in addition, you always want to give these recommenders an advance notice. As Mr. Gill said, it's not a very lengthy application that they have to fill out, but remember, they are your teachers, they are your counselors, and they have other responsibilities. So always try to shoot for maybe a 2-week advance notice so they give themselves some time and put in a little more effort to whatever it is that they're writing for you, versus you telling them the day of or the day before. They're going to feel pressured, so it's going to be rushed work. Alrighty. And I believe this brings us to the conclusion. Thank you everyone for sticking with us for an hour. Hopefully we didn't make you doze off. If you have any questions, now would be a great time to share them with us. Type them in the chat box if you don't want to turn on your mic. Just as a reminder, the next workshop and final workshop will be a review of the Common Application. And just to cater this more specifically to your liking, if there are any private campuses you are interested in already, you could go ahead and type them in the chat box and I'll make note of them. To give you all more specific information on these campuses, because private schools all have different application processes. So it would be very impossible to go through every single campus. So if there are any campuses you are interested, feel free to leave them in the chat box.
I was asked the question. I'm not sure they read the answer, but I'm gonna try to translate it to a more generic one. So, because if I say specific, you can tell who it is. If you happen to have gone to multiple high schools throughout your high school academic journey, it's fine if you use your current high school transcript, if it includes those grades, for inputting your CSU information. However, when you are applying to college, once you get admitted, they will request you to submit official transcripts on every single high school and every single college that you have attended. So if, let's say, you went to 3 high schools throughout your academic career, you will need to send all 3 official high schools to your college, sorry. Same thing if you did like a community college class in 4 different community colleges, you have to send transcripts from each of those community colleges to your university of choice. But for the current actual application, it's fine if you have your current high school one that has all your classes listed. But again, when you're submitting your final transcript, you have to submit from each school that you've attended. Oh, it's cold.
Sorry, I just saw one more question, and it said, for clarification, programs impacted means that the college has the program. Yes, if it has an I, it most likely means the school offers a program and it is impacted.
So again, to add on to that, impacted doesn't mean it's a good program, doesn't mean it's a bad program. It's just, there's too many applicants and not enough seats to accept every single applicant into that program.
Yes, so just to explain a little more on that, well, I'll make it very brief. Imagine they let in a lot of students who were interested in nursing into the program. So guess what? Now when you want to register for courses, they have a limit to how many students could register for the courses. So they need to put a cap to how many students are going to intake for each one of these majors to make sure all of the classes you're signing up for are balanced and you actually have the opportunity to sign up for those classes. As is, it is already very difficult to register and get the classes that you want when you are a first year and second year. So hopefully that explains why they put a limit to how many students in each major they accept. Yes. But other than that, that would be all from us. Thank you so much once again. There any other final questions, thoughts?
And as usual, putting emails in the chat on the off chance that you don't have a question now and it comes up later. Feel free to shoot us an email.
Or there's a private you think about. Oh, okay, I got a message. Nice. Okay, well, thank you. We hope you all have a great night. Finish off that last homework assignment, that last chapter of reading, or the last 10 minutes of that episode, and get a good night